This video will cover the area known as Oceania. We'll start with kind of a definition. Oceania is made up of thousands of islands. It includes Australia, but additionally all of these islands over here in the Pacific Ocean. Australia is the major island in Oceania. We'll also take a look here at New Zealand and Papua New Guinea. We will then look at Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. These are all island groups in the Pacific Ocean. So starting with Australia, it was discovered in 1606 by Dutch sailors. It was originally set up as a penal colony, so people who were convicted of a crime were given a choice. They were either executed or sent to Australia. Nearly a third of all of those people died, and most of the people that they sent to Australia were sent there due to nonviolent crimes. The Aborigine are the original inhabitants of Australia. When the British come in, it is definitely going to have a disastrous impact on the indigenous people, on the Aborigine in Australia. So you probably have heard the continental drift and the plate tectonics. So all of these used to be together, and then Australia and all these other countries break off to end up where they are today. Some of the physical features, you have the Great Barrier Reef. It's a coral reef over here on the northeastern part of Australia. The majority of Australia is desert. You can see there are several deserts that are named here, but the majority of the western part of Australia is desert. You have the Great Dividing Range over here on the east coast. You have Ayers Rock, which is also known as Uluru. The Western Plateau, again, is mostly desert. Uluru, that rock that I was telling you about, is located in this area. And here's just a map showing you the different climates. The majority of Australia's population lives right over here on this eastern coast. Australia has suffered from a series of droughts for more than 50 years. It is more critical during their summer months, December through February, and it has affected the Murray-Darling Basin. The Murray-Darling is these two rivers here. So you have these two different basins, and the drought has affected that area. Here are some of the different economic activities. You can see here on their money is Queen Elizabeth, and that's because Australia was colonized by the British and they still actually recognize the Queen as their head of state. Moving on to New Zealand, there are two main islands. You have the North Island and the South Island. The Maori are the indigenous people or the original people. Again, just like when the British came into Australia, when the British come into New Zealand, it is definitely going to have an effect on those indigenous people. The South Island is very mountainous. The North Island doesn't have as many mountains, but the ones that are there tend to be of volcanic origin. Most are dormant, but there are still some that are active. Here are New Zealand's main economic activities. The northern edge, you have subtropical weather. The southern tip is much further away, so you have mountains in that area, so you do have a really wide variety of climates. But the majority has fairly mild, moderate temperatures. Moving on to the island groups, Micronesia includes these countries, and you can see they're all circled out here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Most of the islands in Micronesia, micro means small, so all of these islands are very, very small. Not a lot of natural resources. Most of the islands in Micronesia rely heavily on tourism, and we're going to find this in most of these island groups out here in the Pacific. They all share a tropical climate. You do have typhoon seasons. Just a reminder, hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones are all the same type of storm. They just name them differently. Generally, hurricanes happen in the Atlantic Ocean, typhoons happen in the Pacific Ocean. And that's what I just said. And then you have the Indian Oceans. The name for those storms in the Indian Ocean would be a cyclone. Melanesia, you do have kind of some larger islands here. The islands are tropical in nature, variations in temperature. Many of these islands are volcanic. Most of them are dormant again, but Papua New Guinea up here to the north of Australia does actually have a active volcano. Papua New Guinea is on the eastern half of this island of New Guinea, and the other side of the island is a part of Indonesia. Papua New Guinea is included in this area because the people on the eastern half of this island have more in common with the people of Australia and Oceania than they do with the people that are part of Indonesia. Papua New Guinea is full of natural resources, but it's really difficult to get to because there are mountains, there are swamps, there are jungles. So the resources haven't been developed because it's just too expensive to use those resources. Some of the other economic activities, obviously, like we said, tourism. Polynesia is this larger area, and you may have heard of some of these different areas. Hawaii is actually part of Polynesia. You have French Polynesia down here, and that includes Rapa Nui, which is Easter Island. It also includes Tahiti, America Samoa, and Samoa. So some of these you may have heard of. One of the most mysterious places is the island of Rapa Nui, which is Easter Island. When the Europeans get there, they see all of these huge stone statues. Again, because this is such a large area, there are some differences in climates. There are some differences in natural resources. Again, tourism is definitely their main economic activity. And that is it for Oceania.